Hello, Kubrick Lover 1972 here with another review for the Brian's 31 Days of Halloween. Today's day 10. Before I get into this video, I forgot I should take notes or something. I sort of do that with my weekly review of films, and maybe I'm slacking on that too. But I forgot all about yesterday. Serpent and the Rainbow. The score was quite good, and the score was by a guy named Brad Fidel, Fiedel, or something to that spelling. And I believe he's the guy that did the scores for the two Terminator movies. I don't know if he did Terminator 3 or 4. I'm not sure on that. Um, so, anyways, the film I watched today was Hostel. Um, I think I'm getting. I want to get to the process, right? Well, not process. So I want to get to some days after this. So just take it, for lack of a better word, take it easy on gore and whatever, and look more into psychological kind of horror movies. Technically, I don't know if this is a horror film. It's kind of like a action thriller kind of movie. But it does have some, dark moments in it and some gore. So it has a really good score, and the makeup was done, the prosthetic makeup, the special effects makeup was done by Greg Nicotero. And he's worked on some movies, I believe, besides Hostel, but I can't remember what they are. And if you know, just put it down there. And then after that, he did makeup for The Walking Dead, and then he would later go on after that to direct episodes of The Walking Dead. Quentin Tarantino, I guess, was one of the executive producers on this. It's written and directed by Eli Roth, who would later go star, be one of the actors in Inglourious Bastards. So let's talk about this movie. So this movie, two Americans, and I think he's European. Yeah, he's European, I believe. There are touring Europe, and they've been a few places in Europe. I think France, maybe Spain or Italy, France, Belgium, maybe. Then they're in Holland, and the guy says to them, "Well, they're at a hostel, and he's saying, why don't we go to Eastern Europe? Why don't we go to well, it was filmed in the Czech Republic, but I don't think it's set in the Czech Republic. Somewhere in Eastern Europe." And when they get there, things turn sour. And there's a slight indication of that on the train while they're getting there. When they meet a guy on the train who will become integral to the movie later on. And the guy they thought the European guy that the two Americans thought they were good friends with, turns out he's not as wonderful as they find out to be. And the people they meet in this area of Eastern Europe are not who they think they are. They meet they're young guys, they're like in their 20s or something, and they meet these beautiful women that are around the same age in a club, and they, go through the rites of passage. They have sex, and they, everything seems to be fine. And then things start going awry, like their European friend disappears. And then one of the Americans finds this out, and then he goes investigating into this matter, and then things go into turmoil from there. And then the other American is trying to find out where his friend went, his American friend, and and things complicate themselves from there. Um, Being a horror movie, I guess it's a horror movie. Um, well, it says the scariest movie in a decade, according to Ain't It Cool News, who's host run by Harry Nowles. I don't know about Ain't It Cool right news, right? Ain't It Cool News now right now, but I assume they're still around. um, yeah. So all these factors happen, and some some of them might. I don't want to spoil the movie. um, let's just. How can I put this so I don't spoil the movie and you might find it interesting? Um, yes, it does have sort of a darkness to it, but there's light as well, going towards the end, but not without some um, major gore and major dark, very nail biting scenes, And there are a few times I winced a little watching, but um, I thought it would be much more gory than I predicted. I mean, you see like all the instruments that the surgeon has on his counter, but I don't think you see too much gore. You see just like indications of it or the aftermath. But yeah, so I'm going to give this film probably 3.5 stars. I don't know if it's excellent, but it's pretty close to excellent. And you know, Mike, who's great 1951 on here on YouTube. I don't. I, you know what? You probably might want to steer clear of this. It's I mean, because me, I find it is gory, it is wince inducing in a few scenes, but in the end, it's okay. And the way it resolves itself is, I thought it would resolve itself a different way than the way it did, and not in a good way, But it's still pretty violent, pretty gory, and a little of it I laughed at because it was so over the top violence, So I laughed a little, but yeah. So I give this film 3.5 stars. Next few days, I think I'm going to look into more psychological horror movies. I did, what? I did say that I was going to watch my personal collection of films, my physical DVDs and Blu-rays, but I don't have it. It's on one of my streaming services. Actually, it's on two of them. There's Manhunter, which is the Silence of the Lambs story before Silence of the Lambs was made. It was Silence of the Lambs came out in 1991, somewhere in there, and Manhunter, same story. I believe it's the same story. Came out in 1986 or 87 or 88 or something, and so they're on two of my streaming services. They're on Mubi, which shows like classic movies and cult movies and avant-garde and foreign films and films from areas you don't get to see, like Iran, or wherever, or Africa or Southeast Asia. And it's also on Shudder, which is a horror movie streaming site. So I think I might add that one in. I've wanted to watch it for a little while, sort of compare it to Silence of the Lambs, see how they do. I've heard it's a pretty good movie, and I think it's directed by Michael Mann. So I guess I've talked this off long enough. Oh, and other films I'm thinking of watching, like ones in my personal collection. I mentioned Pigs, which I think is a Vinegar Syndrome. And what was the other one I mentioned? I mentioned another one, another horror movie. Oh yeah, the Dead films, the Romero Dead films. I may watch Day of the Dead just to refresh my mind. I know that I watched it before, but I haven't seen it in such a long time. And it might set me up better for Land of the Dead, which is a sequel to Day of the Dead, and then I can watch Diary of the Dead as well. So those are some Romero films. There might be another Dead film, but I can't remember the title for the life of me. And then there's a movie I have called The Innocents with Deborah Carr, and I hear that's pretty good. I think it's like psychological horror, so I think I'm gonna check into that. I do have some Dario Argento movies, but I've watched some Dario Argento films, and I like Suspiria more now than I used to. But I don't know if I'm going to watch any Dario Argento films because I'd like to see if I have some films that are different from that. So we'll see. Oh, and Eyes Without a Face by Georges Franju. There's that film to watch. Yeah. So, Phantom Carriage by Victor Seastrom. It's an old silent movie. I think it would classify as a horror movie. Okay, so enough yammering. Check in back tomorrow. If not, if I'm on a stream or something tomorrow, then I'll be on Friday with like 2 films reviewed, or something like that. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you're enjoying these, and see you soon. Watch some scary movies.